Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality. Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and I am joined by my faithful co-host,
John Elway.
Dude, that's my favorite quarterback of all time. Nice choice.
You have a figure of me on your desk? Wow.
Yes, I loved your drive. It was one of my favorite football moments of all time. Apparently, there was a Transformer
part in The Simpsons. That thing in The Simpsons where Homer decided he wanted, when they were doing the witness protection, and he was imagining the Super Bowl.
He buys the Broncos.
Thanks to Elway's patented magic, it's the Broncos 7 and the Bills 42.
I enjoyed that as well. I guess luck isn't with me tonight. It's St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I am celebrating in super cliche fashion with the green light and the really tacky necklace and the green on my rogue shirt here and all that stuff. I love St. Patrick's Day. I think it's a fun holiday. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Big B.
I forgot to wear my new Big B green shirt with the Swamp Thing logo.
Oh, man, you're going to get pinched. My daughter's in kindergarten, so getting pinched for not wearing green is like a real problem. Real fast before I say hello to everybody in the chat, before we say hello to everybody in the chat, I want to take a second to just let you know we're streaming on a few different channels. Right now, you can catch me over live on Big B McFly, the Comic Book Guys channel. There's a link in the description for that channel, as well as a bunch of the channels that the EXP runs on YouTube, on Twitch, on Instagram, Facebook, that kind of fun stuff. So go check out the EXP for all kinds of amazing comic book content. We'll be talking about them throughout the night. You can also watch the show over on the Bronze Age Nerd YouTube channel. Links for those are in the description below. Let's say hello to everybody in chat, including the very first person to comment, as far as I can tell, Richard Westfall. What? Air horn. Boop, boop, boop. We got GT Key Comic coming in with that silver medal. And Rich Stanky in here as well, by the way, who I've got some amazing art I want to show off. We have community art we show off every week. I've got an awesome piece that he themed around Jim Lee, inspired by Jim Lee, or kind of definitely goes with Jim Lee's work. Some of his costume designs. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
So very cool. We'll show off that here a little bit later, but he is going to be watching on the rewind, and we appreciate that. Derek's in the chat. What's up, Derek? Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to John Stout. A lot of you might be drinking a stout for St. Patrick's Day. We ran into, or at least, I don't know if you saw John, but I saw him on Saturday at the Frankenstein Comic Swap.
I did not bump into John on Saturday.
That's too bad. I was able to get him his Heroes for Heroes stuff and say hello to him. He was awesome to run into, as always. Appreciate you, John. Awesome. And then we got Comic Tropes in the chat. What's up? Happy St. Patrick's Day, Mr. Tropes. Coming off your Comic Tropes After Dark show over on your other channel. Everybody go check that out. He's a awesome YouTuber, does fantastic comic book content, and a friend of the channel. Let's see who else we got here. Oh my gosh, they're just having an emoji war. It's so many of these faces. Oh, and then we got the heart. This reminds me of a certain moment from a TV show that happened not that long ago that I won't spoil. There's a heart at the end of an episode of a show that aired recently that is very oddly placed. You look confused. I'm pretty sure you watch this show, though.
I'm pretty sure I probably do. I just probably don't.
Well, you may have streamed it on Prime. That'll be my hint for you.
Okay. Oh yeah. That was a good episode.
We got the Science Snake himself. Oh my gosh, you met John Elway when you were 5 at a brunch. That's awesome. Did he try to sell you a car? Because I think around the time I'm guessing around that time I think he was doing a car lot. Or yeah, I'm just kind of guessing. Go Bills. That's Richard. Should more superheroes have a pet cat at home? I think more people should have pet cats in general. So yes, that's my opinion.
Oh, that's a question. Are you a cat person or a dog person? Chat, chime in.
Let's do kitty emojis for cats and I don't know, dog emojis for dogs, I guess. There we go. We're doing engagement, right?
That's right. Cat person,
got
dog person.
There's definitely
one way or the other.
Ooh, we got some. On my end, I got some stutter. I don't know if that was me or you, but Lorena in the chat as well. If by stout you mean black sugar milk tea, then yes, that's what I'm drinking. Yes, that's exactly what I meant. It may have been a show that one would call invincible on the ratings. That's possible. It was before his car days. Okay. Then you are probably of an age with me, is my guess. John Elway Chevrolet. Alligator emojis should be an option. I don't know. I don't control which emojis are available. I don't think I do anyway. If that's, Comic Tropes, you are a YouTuber of some renown. If there's a way to get alligator emoji in there, you just let me know. Or do you mean as a pet? Like you should be able to put that up as a pet. I bet you Mr. Science Snake would vote for reptiles as well, is my guess. Scientifically speaking. So we have a very fun show tonight. We'll continue to say hi to people as they pop into the chat. We're going to kind of recap instead of doing the whole media thing we usually do at the beginning now of the show, I think we're going to recap our experiences at Frankenstein Comic Swap. They were very different experiences. We were doing 2 very different things, both of which were pretty unique and fun for us. I think, my opinion at least. Maybe a little more stressful than either of us expected, but it worked out in the end. And then I can show off some cool pickups I got. Did you pick anything up?
Kind of.
Okay,
I'll leave it at that for now.
Fair enough.
I'll show you in a bit.
Yes, as a pet. Okay, there we go. Ute. Maybe you are younger than me. I don't know the slang behind Ute. I thought for a second you were going to say yeet or something, but I don't know Ute. I will just want to show off one thing real fast that Big B brought me when we ran into each other at the Frankenstein Comic Swap. Shout out to Ryan Colossus Collector. Brought me this awesome Council of X t-shirt for their group kind of effort they do where they talk about X-Men comic books on their channels. It's very cool. Thanks for bringing that by, and thanks Ryan for sending that over. That was an awesome late Christmas present, he called it. I'd be wearing it, but you know what? I needed to wear the green today, right?
Right.
Okay, there we go. Yes to reptiles over cats and dogs. There we go. So we're going to recap that, and then we're going to talk about Mr. Jim Lee. We're going to talk about, we have a cool slideshow presentation that our producer Jay was nice enough to help us put together. Big B put up a lot of great example photos that we're going to talk about for that. I added some material as well. We're going to talk a little bit about his life, his career, a little bit more than a little bit about his career, actually. And then we're going to talk about his art and kind of what it means to us and its impact on us. And then if we have some time, we'll get into some news. We'll definitely talk about our community artwork shares. But as I threatened, we're going to talk about Frankenstein Comic Swap first. So I guess I'll go first because I got there earlier and I had a different experience.
I was working out of town and had to scramble. So
yeah. So this is the first show that I ever vended at, and I was a vendor at Frankenstein Comic Swap. It takes place twice a year in Portland, Oregon. Pretty much now always at the Lloyd Center Mall.
Was that your VV, your vendor virginity card?
Yes, my vendor V card has been punched. How many Frankensteins were there? I saw zero Frankensteins there except for the ones on the windows or the flyers or whatever.
Yeah.
And no Frankenstein's monsters. So,
Right.
you
Well,
know, just to be pedantic.
just statues and toys. And,
I didn't. Well, but see, you walked around a lot more than I did.
Right.
You saw probably more of that than I did. So you should probably chime in. Awesome sauce. Happy Monday to you as well. So my experience. So here's how it started. I pull into the Lloyd Center Mall parking garage on the first floor where I always park when I go to Frankenstein Comic Swap. I'm greeted by a wonderful view of a homeless gentleman who was clipping his toenails. That was fantastic. And I park far away from the homeless gentleman clipping his toenails. I get it, but I mean, I don't want to be that close to it. I think we were already close enough. I unload all my comic books onto my brand new little cart that I got, which I was really excited to try out. I have a hurt back from something that happened about 4 or 5 days ago, or before the show. So that was really fun. I load it all up. I get to the elevator. I'm like, sweet, the hard part's over. I punch the elevator button. Punch the elevator button.
I did that too.
Punch the elevator button. Elevator's out of order apparently, with no sign or any kind of word of warning about that at all. I thought it was just not open yet because the mall wasn't open.
And that's not level 1. That's level 1.5 that we park on. It's in between level 1 and level 2.
Right, but it's the first level of the garage though.
Right. Yeah.
And so I take all my stuff back to my car in my SUV. I load it all back up. I drive to the second floor of the garage, where it's much busier, of course, because everyone else parked there, because that's where you'd have to park. And unload all my stuff again, get it up into the building. At this point, I'm about half an hour later than I wanted to be there for setup. I'm sharing a booth with 2 other awesome people who I want to shout out. The first is Sean, aka Qwerty Comics. That's QWERTY. So what's up, Sean? He was a huge help in booking the tables. We shared 2 tables. The other gentleman I shared it with was Dan from Dan's X-Men Comics, Council of X member. Great dude. And they'd already been setting up their stuff, so I kind of just swooped in. I was in the middle between them, which wasn't really necessarily where I wanted to be, because I felt way too exposed. I didn't want to be in the front and center middle. I wanted to be on one of the sides, but that was not their problem because they got there on time.
You got the prime time real estate though. You're right in the middle.
I think it worked against me though, because I think people would come up to the table, because we had 3 people at 2 tables, but it looked like one long table. And I think everybody came up to each end
and started the other, and then they wouldn't get to your stuff in the middle.
It's kind of how it seemed, a little bit like that. And there could have been lots of reasons why that happened. Sales were kind of slow for me. That's kind of my quick little sales recap on it. I got to meet lots of cool people, including lots of people that recognize me as viewers of the channel. That was really awesome and really flattering, for people to come up to you and tell you, hey, I love your videos. I had vendors coming from across the way, like, you're Bronze Age nerd. And it was that was a lot of fun. Had Dr. Plagueis run up and give me a whole bunch of stickers, and I got some stuff to give Big B later in the show, at the show on Saturday when he came. So I got a bunch of new stickers too from Dr. Plagueis. Unfortunately, I don't have them next to me, or else I'd show you, but they're my logo basically. That was really fun seeing him again. Got to meet Michael from Longbox Love Affair, which is another really cool YouTube channel that's out there. Hey, what's up, Christina? I see you dropping stuff in the chat. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Dropping the knowledge bombs.
Yeah, we got Jordan. What's up, Jordan? Thanks for coming to the show. It was a pretty good time though, as far as like meeting people, talking about comics. Sales were a little light, but I had like some really fun ones. Like my very last sale of the day, I sold somebody one of my extra copies of X-Men 28. Appropriate because it's almost St. Patrick's Day at the time, and now it is. First appearance of Banshee, and he just saw it on my wall and was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't pass that up!" And he just wanted it right away. He was just so excited to get it, and I could just tell it like made his day. Right, like that was a really fun moment to have. I had a couple moments like that. I did get to do a trade with somebody. I'll show off the trade I did. So even though I didn't do a lot in sales necessarily, I did do some trades, which were really fun. And I also got to run into this gentleman right here, Big B, who showed up in the afternoon. So I'll let him tell his story, what the show was like for him.
I was running way behind, and somebody had asked me for some books, and I was having a hard time finding them. And then started driving away from my house, and then realized I knew right where the book was that they were asking for, so I could go back to the house and get it. I showed up about 2:30 and went to the elevator and pushed the button. And that didn't work. And but so I just hoofed it down to the next level and came in the door. And I was on a mission to try to get some funds together. I'm trying to pay off a book I've been buying from somebody, and so I was trying to get that all taken care of. So I'd taken a bunch of Silver Age Fantastic Four keys and Doctor Doom covers, and a couple Golden Age books with me. And I couldn't have gone better. I right off the bat, I came in the door, and one of the vendors that I've known for a long time yelled out my name. I came over and I said, "Hey, are you buying?" He said, "Yeah." And he bought 3 books from me for $150 or so. And then
that's good.
Needless to say, I sold through the entire backpack of books, which was pretty cool, and it helped me make a big dent in getting things squared away. But it was awesome. Really fun. I got to do take some video with a lot of different people. I took video with people who were buying the books from me, as well as some some indie creators that I met there. And so we put a video up of that later on. But it was really fun. I got to see this guy over here, as well as Long Box Love Affair, Cordy Comics, Dan's X-Men, it was really fun. Nice. I think I was there just a little too late to see a lot of the people I was hoping to see, but things happen.
Yeah, it was interesting. Some vendors packed up earlier than I expected.
People started packing up at 3. I got there at 2:30, and people started packing up maybe it was me.
They saw you coming. They're like, "We got to get out of here. He's gonna steal all our deals.
We got to go." Run. No. It was really fun. I stayed a lot longer than I thought I was going to. And I was supposed to do my monthly giveaway for my channel memberships and with Travis Comics Limited at his house. So scrambled over there, ate some pizza real quick, jumped online with him, and did that. It was a great day.
Nice, yeah, dude. It was really fun watching you make what you needed to have happen for your goal. I was part of that too. Real fast, just want to shout out. I mean, we had lots of people. Comic Ozzy dropped in, Sickotron dropped in, Kenneth.
Oh, yeah.
I hope I didn't miss anybody. I think Awesome Sauce, I got you earlier. Comic Trope says, if you're ever between 2 vendors at a con and you're farting so bad that they're gagging, just say that they're standing in a stinky area, and if anything, it might be them, not you. I actually used that exact move.
There you
go. But I wanted to take a second to kind of show off some stuff I grabbed real fast before we get to the Jim Lee goodness.
If you want to do solo layout, I have to do a quick internet fix real quick. So I think that might have been why you had a stutter.
Okay. Shoot me a message in private chat or something in case I don't see you, so I can see an alert that I need to bring you back. Okay.
Oh, you can just do solo layout. It'll take me off the screen.
Well, but when you're back and you're ready to go,
Okay. Sure.
All right. So real fast here, Dan, who I shared the booth with, I'd actually bought some stuff from him ahead of time. So I picked up that from him at the show. He was nice enough to hold it for me. Star Wars Jedi versus Sith. That's number 1, right? Yeah, that's the first appearance of Darth Bane. So I was excited to get that. I also got an issue I needed for my X-Men run, one of the Silver Age books, X-Men 18. Very happy to have a copy of that. From the trade, so a guy kept coming by and eyeing this Nottingham foil reprint of number 1 that I had that he really liked. And he said, hey, I've got some books. Would you be interested in a trade? I said, yeah, sure. Let's see what you got. So he had about 4 of those BCW store folios, and I was looking through them, and I wasn't super interested in a lot of stuff he had. It was a lot of modern variants, but there was a few things he had that I really liked. I got the first 2 parts of the Marka Kane storyline that introduced Cassandra Cain as Batgirl. So I got that, and issue part 2 from the No Man's Land story arcs. And then he had this, which I loved. I lit up at this. It's Batman and the Joker Simon Bisley cover signed by Simon Bisley. They're in purple there, which is awesome. And he had that.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So I absolutely lit up when he saw that. And I was like, yeah, dude, we can get something going. For sure. And yeah, I was very excited.
Solo, if you want to have a better view of the books you got, I don't have a problem with
that. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
people deserve to see the goodness.
I went up to, there was this nice gentleman named Hank that was a vendor at the show that came up and made sure to say hello to me. He was very, very kind about saying he was a viewer of the channel. So Hank, if you're watching, thanks for the books. Picked up some John Byrne goodness.
Wolverine with a giant machine gun. Such a great cover.
Can't go wrong with that. Newsstand copy, first appearance of the Dinobots.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. These were each like $2, I think. I got this for $1.
Man, I gotta find that Dinobots one is one I want to get. That's one of my favorite ones.
I've got a direct now that I don't need. But I was like,
well, there you go.
There may be a Devastator. Got the first appearance of Deathbird from the Shi'ar, which is cool. And then don't get too excited. It's a second print, but I did get a Star Wars #1 from him as well, which is it's in pretty good shape. Yeah.
Nice.
So I thought that was fun. And then I want to show off the stuff I got from my friend Bigby McFly, the comic guy.
He first I'll show off. Gave you some stuff.
Got some stuff. First, I'll show off I won his. He was talking about his membership giveaway. I won some stuff from that. I'll show that off real fast.
Oh yeah, you won last month, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I got the Spider-Man Gen 13 crossover. He had kind of like a crossover theme. The Superman Madman. I think I said Madman. Madman. Hullabaloo.
Superman Madman is different.
Yes, that's Don Draper does this whole thing with an ad campaign.
I love
it's really
that.
ridiculous.
That Hulk is super cool. I mean, the
Hulk
creative team. If you know the history of Keown and David, I mean, that's so cool.
Speaking of Peter David, please stay tuned. We have an important message about Peter David that we're going to share later, which is important with everything going on right now with him. So definitely stay tuned with that. This is really awesome. I thought that was really fun. The Spider-Man Incredible Hulk special with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders.
The grade on that is so nice.
Yeah, it's in good shape. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I keep hitting the mic, folks. My bad. It's like it's my first time doing this. Got a really crispy copy of first appearance of Angela. Very cool.
And that big guy gives away a lot of books.
And especially this one, which is a really nice one. This was the first time I've had this since I was a little kid. Thundercats #1 for Star Comics. That's really cool. Newsstand too. Yeah. Yes, it is a promo book.
Yeah, that's a promo book. That Dallas Cowboy cheerleader one. Yeah, it's a newspaper promo.
Yep. Man, I wish Tex was still around and watching the channel. That'd be cool. He would flip his lid over that one. Then these are the books that I purchased to help Bigby get to his goal that he was trying to raise. I think 95% of this is stuff that we talked about beforehand, but he just kind of met me at the show and I gave him the cash for it that night. Got the 4 issues that lead up or the Death of Snake Eyes storyline in the IDW run of G.I. Joe by Larry Hama. All in really good shape. He was nice enough to hold these for me for a while. Love that cover.
All those covers are really cool.
He did a sketch cover of this too that I have a copy of. I think it was a different issue, but it's the sketch of him doing the layout for that, of Larry Hama doing the layout for that.
Tropes, next time I meet up with you, just remind me to bring one for you. I have like a handful of them.
Nice. This was the book that I bought that was kind of added onto the deal. I knew he had it, but I didn't know he'd found it or brought it with him or whatever. So here's your official booty cover of the week. So I've got to do a little thing here. So here's your booty cover of the week, everybody. Little Tim Seeley Hack Slash Suicide Girls annual special goodness right there. Crispy.
I had no idea it was worth what it's worth, and Bronze was like, "Hey man, have you seen this book? This is worth a whole bunch of money." And I'm like, "I have that book somewhere."
Well, and it's just one of those ones that's been on my list because I collect covers like that, and I was just like, oh, that's really sweet. The next two, man, huge shout out to Bigby. These are awesome books that I didn't think I'd own anywhere near the time that I'm holding them in my hands here. I hate to say that it took Neil Adams passing away for me to really start hunting this cover, but it's one of my favorites of his. And so
I've done so many homages to that. I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
Cover.
Was this your only copy, or did you have another one?
I think that's my only copy right now, but I'll hunt another one down later.
I love it. I'm so glad to have it. Thank you for that. And then this was
go to a nicer guy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Coming from a really nice guy, a guy so nice he was willing to hook me up a great deal for this book, for all the books. I mean, it was kind of a bundle deal there. First, Reverse Flash. I had no aspirations of owning this book anytime soon. I've always wanted it ever since I watched. Oddly enough, the Flash CW TV series really turned me on to Professor Zoom, Reverse Flash. And I mean, I obviously was aware of him, but that's kind of what cemented that character in my mind as somebody I really wanted to chase down the first appearance of. Wow, I can't believe that I own that now. Thanks a lot, baby. That was so awesome of you to do
I'm so happy that they're in your collection, man. That's just, I like knowing they go to good homes.
Wait, a chain would break at its weakest point, not all over the place. That cover is BS, says Comic Tropes. Well, I mean, I guess you can go dig up Neil Adams and argue with him about it.
Right.
Go
ahead.
Awesome Sauce wants to know what's all the talk about farting tonight. Oh, that's funny. I don't know. I think he who smelt it dealt it. I'm just saying.
Taco Tuesday tomorrow or something. I don't know.
Get a head start. But hey, just some awesome pickups. By the way, the thing that I did that I really wanted to make sure to highlight, I told everybody I was doing this ahead of the show. Mentioned to a couple people at the show. 10% of all the sales I made is getting donated to a fund that I'm setting up for Heroes for Heroes. And that fund is going to go towards things like primarily it's going to go towards covering shipping for customers on the event day. So the first orders I can cover shipping on, I will, with the funds we generated. You'll be able to figure out really easily how much I made because of that. But $25 has now been added to that fund. Again, I did do some trades and some stuff on top of that as well. So really awesome. We got that fund started. Anytime you see me selling comic books, like I might be selling some comic books later tonight. I might be selling some comic books next week. It's crazy. Anytime you see me selling comic books on YouTube or in person or something like that, Instagram, wherever, 10% of those are going to go towards that fund so I can cover those shipping costs or things like commissions maybe down the road, or if we need to get some materials or posters printed for comic shops, that kind of stuff. It'll basically be a miscellaneous fund to cover expenses for Heroes so that I'm able to help out more with shipping, because that always gets a little awkward when it comes to the promotion. So very cool.
Right.
90% are donated to corned beef. That's true. Yeah, that's a fact. All right. So I babbled for a long time, so I have to point out one thing real fast about us streaming over on the EXP, which is tomorrow night, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. You can check out Minute to Skim It over on the EXP. Our producer Jay is part of that, as well as Kyle, who you might remember from my Devil's Advocates show days on the EXP, and Jen from Space Cadet Comics is on there as well. They're going to be breaking down new comic books coming out for New Comic Book Day in a quick and easy format to digest. Highly recommend tuning in that tomorrow night at 7 Eastern. All right, fun stuff.
So I don't know if I shared the story with you about Travis Comics Limited. He has a neighbor who's just getting into comics.
This sounds familiar.
Okay, and
you were giving some comics to them or something, I think, or
I was going to give. He's really into Sergeant Rock and Our Army at War, and I had like an old Golden Age Our Army at War. It's like $150 book, but I was like, yeah, I've had it for a while. A lot of people have looked at it and they're like, it's just been sitting around. I go, you know what? If it will help him get excited about beginning to collect comics, I will give it to him for $20. And Travis was like, that's insane. Let me ask him. And he's like, oh yeah, he's all over it. And so I went over there after the show I had that book with me to take to Travis. And he's like, I'm not going to just let you just get $20 for this. He's like, you can take anything out of my collection for $100 as part of repaying you for that book. And I was like, that's sweet. He's like, hey, do you want this? And I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, you can have that. So after the show, I picked up 9.6 Wolverine.
Sweet. Nice. Very fun.
So I was like, oh, pretty cool. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So I did end up getting, and then Travis being awesome like Travis is, he knows that I love Jenny Frison art. So he gave me
oh wow,
Poison Ivy cover.
Yeah,
another Poison Ivy cover.
Hey, those are appropriate for St. Patrick's Day,
right? And then this isn't Frison, but it's beautiful.
That looks kind of familiar. That's not Cho, is it?
It's not Cho. I'm not sure who the artist is on it, but it's beautiful. And then he's bound and determined to get me collecting modern comics, so he gave me the newest issue of Transformers.
It's really good. I don't know if that was a good jumping on point. I haven't gotten that far yet, but it's a really good series.
Yeah. No, I'm not complaining. I'm just like, I got to get into the reading of it. But
yeah. Awesome sauce.
So I took a few books.
I have it at about a VG or so for that Reverse Flash. I think that's kind of what you had it at too.
Flashes on it because there's two flashes.
There's an extra S and increased pin or something. Yep.
Oh, John says he thinks that's Jay Lee. Okay.
Oh, okay. I can see that too. I just saw that intricate work in the background, that design that seems very Cho-esque to me too. But yeah, there's a few artists that do that.
Yeah, it's very cool. Whoever it is.
Hey, Hank, I'm glad
a Jay Lee look to it.
Shout out to Hank here. Hank, he was actually watching right now. He said he was on a delay, but he just saw that. Very, very one of the more awesome interactions I had that day. It was just put a smile on my face. So thanks, Hank, for running a good booth and coming over and saying hello and being so nice. Villa Lobos was the suggestion from Jay back
Villa
there.
Lobos? Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. Somebody else
very
said
cool.
Lobos also.
But yeah,
I gotta say the vendors. I'm gonna say the vendors at the show, like I was kind of hesitant, like selling stuff. I was like, are people gonna really be chintzy and try to lowball me, kind of thing? And people were really fair dealing with them. So
yeah,
it was awesome.
Yeah, you seem to do pretty good. I mean, well,
Dr.
There were a couple lowballs too, though, I will say.
There was one guy that really kind of made me upset, but that's okay. I because you've got talking to vendors in a row, you've got to be like, well, thank you for the offer. I'll consider it. Thank you for taking the time to look at my books. You move on.
Totally. Well, it's just like when you're buying too. If somebody's got a price that's ridiculous, you're just like, okay, I'm like, you can make a big deal out of it, but it's not going to do any good.
Right.
Shout out to Dan. By the way, this is Dan from Dan's X-Men Comics. I was talking about him earlier. One of the guys I shared a booth with. Super awesome booth mate. So thanks for all your help, Dan. And we shut off the books you got me earlier as well. Highly recommend following him over on IG. He doesn't have a YouTube channel yet, but he should. Dr. Plagueis, yeah, this is the gentleman I was talking about who got me the stickers. He definitely has an IG and a YouTube channel now, so go follow both of those.
Derek,
controversial
kind of what happened, Derek.
He was guilty during the Bruce Wayne murderer storyline. I don't trust that guy. That might be a great topic for a future episode. Is kind of controversial storylines opinions, like our hot takes on comic storylines or something. Maybe we could do that.
There you go.
Man, there was a
guy that looked at the two Golden Age books that I had, which the fair market value on them was about $800, and he told me he'd give me $100 for the pair.
Well, and I was going to say,
in turn, I sold the pair to somebody else for almost $600. So.
Go along with Derek's comment here. Somebody came up to Sean, aka Quirky Comics. I also make sure I pronounce that T at the end because it sounds like I'm saying quirky, but it's QWERTY like the keyboard. he had a couple X-Men books, and I think they were priced to move for like about $125 for both of them. And the guy opens up an offer at $50 for both of them, and I was like, man, that is like
Damn.
shameless. So I mean, yeah, you get that kind of stuff too on that end.
Yeah. What was the guy we were talking about? Renegade, not Renegade. What was the guy we were both at his table at the end? He was talking about his wife,
Chris.
Forager, that's right. His wife messaged him. He's like, "This book you have 450 on. Someone's offering 300. That seems kind of low."
Yeah,
he's like, "Do not 100%. Sell it for that."
Dude, and shout out to Chris, Forager Comics. He's a really good dude. I'm sorry I don't know his wife's name, but I hook up with him at a lot of shows in the area, and he's really awesome. He's trying to get me to buy his Dave Stevens Space Vixen 9/8, which I want to, but money.
he bought a couple of the books from me. So
yep, he did. You can see him in Big B's video that he'll have coming out. Yep. So we're going to talk a little bit about Jim Lee. Before I do that, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we should talk about? Oh, I guess we should probably tease this. Next week, we're going to be doing, instead of our regular normal show during this time, which it'll still be at the same time, instead of kind of doing this typical format we've been doing, we're going to do a claim sale show, which we haven't done in a while. We're both going to still be kind of on our same cameras. We're not getting together for this one in the same place. But we're just going to make it like really laid back, have a lot of great deals on stuff, try to move some books, and hopefully get some people some awesome books in their hands. In honor of that, we actually brought a few books tonight that are Jim Lee themed, because that's our main topic that we're going to start talking about here in a second. So do you want to start off and show us what you brought to offer up for claim?
Sure. Let me zoom on.
Oh, and Jay, on the back end, do you have the link handy for the claim form so we can have people send us their info for their books they get if they want to pick something up?
So the first stuff I've got is going to be a stack of books, all Jim Lee books.
Ooh, holy cow.
So we got X-Men 257, X-Men 258 in a newsstand. We got X-Men 277 in a newsstand. We got an X-Men #1. Oops. My stuff is out of order here. An X-Men #1. We got an X-Men #2. We got an X-Men #3. We've got Superman 205. I love that cover.
Holy cow. They got some good stuff there, man.
Batman 611. Batman 614.
Some Hush stuff.
So
nice.
yeah, so 9 books, and I will do that whole stack of 9 books for 45 shipped.
That's awesome. Good deal on that. Jump on that, folks. Yeah, so both of us have sold comics at different points in our YouTubing / real careers, in Big B's case. I guess mine now, technically. But barely dip my toe in. So that's a great deal. We love selling comics. We love shipping comics in nice protected cases. You're going to get your books in good shape.
And those should all be like VF plus near mint, range.
Right on. Very cool.
And then this one is super high grade. This is a 1 in 50 Spawn Batman Jim Lee sketch cover.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's super cool.
That's awesome.
And it's a square bound book, and it's super high grade. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I mean, it's a 9/8 candidate. Yeah, I would do 65 shipped on that one.
Nice. So I guess if any takers want to take the bundle, just say claim bundle. And then if you want the sketch, you could just say claim sketch or claim 1 in 50 or claim Spawn or whatever. And first person that we see in our chat that puts that in, those books are yours. And then there's a form that Jay was nice enough to fill in for us in the chat here. All you got to do is go fill out that form, and it'll handle like your shipping information, and you just put down what you got, and we will be able to get you your books. Very cool books you brought, Big B. I brought some Jim Lee stuff, of course. First thing I brought is
$1 for all.
That's like one for all and all for one, right? I brought one of my favorite Jim Lee covers. I love his Wolverine stuff. So this is Wolverine 27 in a newsstand, if you're into that. I looked it up. It looks like it's about $25. So tonight I'll offer it for $20. I have it at like a VF plus ish, probably. Yeah, but let's say VF. I have it in a VF kind of category, just to be on the safe side. And then the second book I brought is a extremely high grade. I would maybe get it pressed first, but I would send this off to CGC if I was looking to grade another copy of X-Men 4. It's first appearance of Omega Red, a very popular character created by Jim Lee, very popular cover by Jim Lee. This I had at the show for $30 was the price on it, and I'll sell it tonight for $25. So nice. $20 for the Wolverine 27 or $25 for the X-Men 4 in really high grade. If anybody's interested in any of those, just let us know. And then if you want to see more of stuff like that, all you got to do is tune in next week for our show, and we're going to have a claim sale show for everybody, offering all kinds of books.
Right.
Great question from Awesome Sauce. Now that my my vendor V card has been punched, will I do it again? And was this Frankenstein show worth doing? I'm at least going to go do the one in October because they run right around St. Patrick's Day and right around Halloween every year. Right. And I at least want to go do that one, and I want to go experience what that's like with some of the knowledge I learned from this one. I think I will approach things differently, because what I learned that was valuable about this one was a lot of information.
That's good. I mean, as any of it you can relay to people, like that the shared people, like things that would be helpful to them if they ever decided to set up.
For sure. I just got a note from our producer that I wanted to mention, which is if you're tuning in next week, keep in mind that the EXP won't be streaming on Instagram because they don't stream claim sales to Instagram. So if you do normally watch Instagram and you're hearing my voice right now on Instagram, we'd love to see you over on any of the other places we stream, which is their YouTube, their Facebook, Big B's, my own YouTube, wherever you want to go watch us that we normally stream. Lessons learned that I would pass on for a show like this. It seemed like people really want to dig. They really want to dig. And my stuff was possibly too organized, maybe in a way. Like, I think it kind of turned some people off because I'm next to a guy who has pretty much, I'd say 90% of what he has is X-Men, and a guy who has some other stuff, but a lot of X-Men in really high graded. And then I'm sitting there with kind of this hodgepodge of stuff. I had some X-Men. I made sure to bring some. But I wanted to draw in, some other clientele too, and get some other people there, some comics. And my stuff was all like, these are my Avengers books. These are my Fantastic Four books. And I felt like every vendor that just had their stuff kind of all with no dividers, in boxes, lots of cheap books, were doing pretty well. And then still have like your kind of nicer stuff either laid out or up on a slat board or a wall or something like that, where people could kind of, pick up some of your bigger keys or whatever. I did bring like my FF48 that I've kind of been toying around with selling, and had a lot of interest in that, but nobody seriously wanted to buy it. And that's, that's kind of the lesson there is, if a few people there might be willing to buy expensive books, but most people are looking to buy, they might spend $500 like they would on one comic, but they'll spend it and they'll buy a short box of comics or a couple short boxes of comics, and spread it out.
I was kind of wondering if that was like, because my experience was I had expensive books, but I was only talking to vendors selling them. Yeah. Whereas maybe, so the smaller books seem to be selling to the general customers, but the vendors were looking for the bigger books.
Yeah. Hank who was vending at the show as well, and has vended at a lot of other shows, but this was his first Frankenstein, says he loved it. We'll do it again. Great crowd. Days zipped by, but it was weird. Sold many $1 to $3 books, very few keys. Exactly. So, I mean, that kind of lines up with what I was saying there. And I think, people that both guys I was with have done a lot of these Frankenstein shows. I know there were several vendors there. I've seen it every Frankenstein I've been to, Forager, a few other people. And I think that if you have that established, that people know you, they know what you have, that's a little bit different. But if they're just walking up to you and your table full of stuff, they just wanted to kind of browse through comics, is the impression I got.
Yeah, I think like you have to have that eye candy though too, like the
Yes.
some of the nicer books to draw people in, and then they start digging too.
100%.
So kind of that too.
I completely agree. That's well said. I think you're right. I think we did ourselves a service by having a wall where we had like, we had like X-Men 50 and we had the, for Sentinels and just some other nice books up there that people were looking at. But yeah. Oh, upgraded my year 1, part 2, 3, and 4 in my bins. You had some great stuff. Hey, I appreciate it, Dr. Plagueis. And I know I don't want to make it sound like I didn't sell anything. I definitely had some fun sales and trades and stuff. So, and Dr. Plagueis was kind enough to buy some books. And since he was awesome enough to make me some stickers, I made sure to give him a little bit of a deal because he deserves it. He does a lot of work for our community. If you need some stickers made, go hit up Dr. Plagueis over on his Instagram and talk about it. If he's not swamped, he might be able to do it.
Right.
I know he gets busy.
And Dr. Plagueis won my drawing Saturday night.
Yeah,
for my membership thing. So you won the week before, and then or the year before, or month before. And Plagueis won last time.
Derek says I could make a killing as if I was an elevator repairman. Yeah, that's
right.
That's true.
Or if you had that was the poo-poo elevator,
right? Oh yeah, there's some questionable stains in that elevator. So actually, you know what? Before I do that, I should probably pull something else up. So we're going to talk about Jim Lee. We've got some really cool artwork and a little bit of a slideshow we're going to show off. But this is part of a series that we're going to do where we're going to kind of highlight some of our favorite creators. I think it was very easy for us to make this decision when we started sitting down talking about how we were going to handle this. I think Jim Lee was just kind of like almost like the low-hanging fruit for us because we both love Jim Lee.
Right.
And it was just an easy one to go to. I did pull some kind of bio stuff about Jim Lee, which I can kind of go through. I'll try to go through it relatively quickly, but it was nice to refresh myself. Some of the stuff I knew, some of it I didn't. So I'll kind of talk about that and a little bit about his personal history and kind of how it relates to art. And then we'll get into his career and show off some of his work that we're all familiar with. So while I'm doing that, I'm not gonna be able to see the chat as much, Bigby. So let me know if anybody's saying anything that's super, 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 super important.
I will. I can actually highlight it and pop it on the screen if it's super important.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're in the show proper. So Jim Lee was born in 1964. He was from South Korea, which is definitely plays into some of his origin story for how he got into comic books. He had a art teacher that would visit his house, and he would do oil pastels with that teacher. It's kind of his first, serious forays into art, from what it sounds like, from what I was able to find out. He, for as far as superhero work goes, he did end up watching the 40s animated Superman series that was out there, and that's kind of where he got introduced to superheroes, which that's just like one of those crazy things where somebody grows up watching Superman when they're a kid and ends up running the company that that does Superman. Right. It's insane. Spoilers. At the age around the age of 4 or 5, he actually had a pretty, as a parent of a 6-year-old, this sounds traumatic. He was hit by a truck and spent some time in the hospital. He describes his childhood after that as being very sheltered. There's a great quote from him that I really loved that he described his early years by saying that it was comics, trauma, and art. That was the be-all, end-all of my childhood. Because his parents sheltered him and really wanted to protect him after that, which makes a ton of sense. After the Korean War, his family moved to the United States. They first lived in a couple places in Ohio and eventually settled in St. Louis, Missouri. In school, he would draw posters for school plays. And on rare occasions, his parents would buy him comic books. He always identified with X-Men comic books because they were outsiders, and he viewed himself as an outsider in American culture very much at a young age. He felt the same way about Spider-Man and Superman because they were characters that had kind of similar backgrounds where they weren't connected all the time. Spider-Man was having to hide his identity. Superman had to hide his identity to protect his family and was from a different planet. He definitely saw those things as something he could identify with because he had his Korean side at home, but he had to work on his American side and learning English when he was out in public.
Right.
I didn't know this about his collegiate career, but he attended Princeton University. where he was drawing cartoons in the newspaper for editorials. This was like in the early 80s. And saw that he graduated with a degree in psychology, but he was preparing for his graduate coursework. And he said, I don't want to do this. I want to do comic books. And his parents were super not happy about that at all. And he ended up very briefly running away from home. And yeah, and his dad actually came after him and said, you know what, I see you're passionate about this. This is your dream. And they kind of came to an arrangement where he was going to take kind of like a sabbatical, not a sabbatically, or what do they call that? Like a year, a wandering year, whatever. There's different words for it in different cultures or whatever. Yeah. But he took a year basically where he was going to say like, okay, I'm going to work on comic books. I'm going to try to break into the industry. And if I can't break into the industry, then I'll go back and finish my collegiate career and become a medical professional. Hey, what's up, Naman? How you doing? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We're talking about Jim Lee. So his parents reluctantly agreed to that. And then, you know, you kind of start to move forward to where he actually got into comic books. So he had a meeting with Archie Goodwin. Archie invited him to Marvel Comics at one point. This is kind of where, you know, there's some stuff before that, and we'll talk about that a little bit in our slideshow. I want to get to here very, very quickly. But I think his career really took off. Actually, you know what? Let's start that slideshow because I think we can make this work out. This is Jim Lee's first comic book. As far as I'm aware, it's his first work in a comic book. Maybe he did something before that that counts.
As far as I know, yeah, too. First comic artwork. Yeah.
It's the Solson Christmas special, Samurai Santa. A book that I definitely want to track down. I was talking with producer Kyle from the EXP earlier. I guess he just grabbed he called it a wrecked copy. A walkabout. Thank you very much. That's a good way to put it. Hydroslime. I like that. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I've always wanted to track one down. Bigby and I were talking about that a little bit before the show too. It's kind of one of my comics I'm looking for. Congrats on having the copy. That's really cool. But you know, shortly after that meeting with Archie Goodwin, he starts working for Marvel Comic Books. I think that's where a lot of us kind of started tracking Jim Lee. The first Marvel book he gets put on is Alpha Flight. Takes over kind of was that issue 51? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's not his artwork on the cover. That's Kevin Nolan, I believe. But yeah, 51's his first Marvel work.
Nice, very cool comic tropes. Not your copy. Okay, interesting.
He said it's bad. The story, it's not his copy. The art was not great, and actually the art in looking at Alpha Flight, when you look at those Alpha Flight issues, it's pretty rough, but you can see the beginnings of the Jim Lee that we'll see someday. Yeah, but there's some pretty rough stuff in there for his artwork,
for sure. Yeah, I picked up a copy of this a couple years ago, and I was very surprised at how rough it looked.
Yeah. I think he did the cover for 52. I think we have that in the slideshow, which that one's better.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
yeah,
but doesn't really look like the Jim Lee. Still, that we, I'm pretty sure that's him. But
right on. Yeah, it was kind of rough. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So I do know that he goes on from Alpha Flight. Oh, I guess I forgot in our slideshow we skipped to X-Men, which we'll get to in a second here. But I know he goes off and does the Punisher War Journal issues 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Which is the first meeting of Punisher and Wolverine, which is pretty cool. The first fight, anyway, between them. Classic series. I love. There's a. I'll never forget. In Mallrats, one of the characters is pissed off because somebody, like a girlfriend or whatever, I think, keeps his copy of Punisher Wardrobe number 7, which is that book right there. And so I remember just as a kid watching that movie, I was like, oh, I got to go track that down. And I picked it up. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I got 6 later on, and it's really cool.
So that's where we start to kind of see him form into the art. I mean, that is very, very much the Ghibli that we know on that cover right there. So
yeah, on the cover, and Comic Trope says that it's a little rougher than he remembered, and it is a little rougher maybe than memory might hold. But I think this is such an overused word when you talk about art. The dynamics of the Jim Lee action start to kind of shine through, though. There's definitely some really good blocking there.
The cover to issue 6, which is is not that great. And it's the close up of Wolverine's face, and it's Jim Lee, but it's like, ooh.
It's pretty rough for Jim Lee. It's a little bit more of like a feral Wolverine, which some people definitely prefer than I always thought of his Wolverine as being like a very, I guess people make fun of me saying this, but like tight. It's a very very, very tight line work on his Wolverine that, kind of very, there isn't a wildness to him as much, unless he has his hair out and he kind of has that kind of wispy look to him. Yes, exactly. It's like he got good fast is a really good way to look at it. After that,
the light bulb came on.
Yeah, I don't know if that was. I don't know what that is, and I would love to ask him about that. What kind of, was it looking at other artists? Was it working alongside other artists in the bullpen or something like that? I don't really know where he was at physically when he was doing that. I don't know if he was sending his stuff in remotely. I know some artists were doing that at that time.
I think it's a really interesting time for comics at that time, because there's the book, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. They wanted people to draw in a specific style, in a specific way. And there were industry standards that they wanted everybody to stick to. And at this point in time is when they really started experimenting with bringing in people like Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, really experimenting with letting people go off of that tried and true formula.
Exactly.
And, they were really desperate for new talent, new blood. So,
the next slide I'll go to, this is kind of where we get into where I chronologically started to become aware of Jim Lee in my personal life, because X-Men, this is kind of slightly before when I was actually reading X-Men month to month or whatever, but by the time he was the artist on it.
That Colossus just blew me away back in, it was just like, yeah. Just seeing that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like the hands. It looks Arthur Adams Colossus almost,
Well,
so
and he kind of,
I almost feel like he's inspired by Arthur Adams the way that that might have. I wonder how much of an influence Art Adams was.
That's Jim a good Lee. Point. When he took over, it was Mark Silvestri that was on the title when he took over, right? Or when he went in to do these stories. This is like a 3-issue arc, I think he did.
And something. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Something interesting I saw on another channel is that the second issue that he did featuring the X-Men is actually a backup story in classic X-Men, the solo Wolverine versus the Hellfire Club issue that reprints that. Is got a backup issue of the X-Men, or backup story of the X-Men in the Outback. And so it's like it's Jim Lee's second issue on X-Men. A very little known fact.
Oh, that is interesting. Okay. I love those backup issues in the classic X-Men books.
Yeah.
Comic Tropes revealed the bomb that we talked about earlier today. This is 100% what we were going to say, Comic Tropes.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about the Alpha Flight stuff. And I think, I think Baby already had the thought. I kind of mentioned it. I was like, I feel like it was when Scott Williams really, I don't know what it is that tightened up his work with Scott Williams. I don't know if it was just he was able to do roughs and Scott Williams was able to finish a little bit more. Again, another great question I'd love to ask him. But it certainly spawned arguably maybe one of the best penciler inker combinations in history with comics. At least, especially I think in the modern era. I think that's very safe to say.
I think there was it was in the I think I've mentioned this before. There was a cartoon. I think it was might have been just in regular Marvel Comics issues, or maybe it was Marvel Age, but it was like the effects of different inkers inking John Byrne, and it was like a picture of like the Hulk leaping, holding a teddy bear, and then one where he's like got guns, and it's just always because it's so rough. Then it's like
yes, that's huge. That's huge.
Right.
The fine lines were, and I think that's when Bigby's talking about, you start to see people like Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld, and what do all those artists have in common? They have a lot tighter, detailed, especially
a lot of fine line work. Yeah, a lot of fine line work. Yeah,
which gives way to kind of my favorite. You could argue it's because it's what I grew up with, but that's my favorite era of comic book art. Because of the detail, because of that, and I always describe Jim Lee's artwork as being detailed. The funny thing is the more I look at it at my age now, it is very detailed, but it's almost the details he leaves out that kind of give it his signature style. Like he'll draw half of a character's lips or half of their eye, and kind of almost leave it like there's a lighting source that's not really shown necessarily, that's sort of maybe like, not, because when we look at the world, we tend to think of it as we see everything, and that is 100% not true. Our brain fills in a lot of those details. When you look at Jim Lee art, and a lot of other artists too, of course, a similar thing happens where it's like, even though if you really look at, because I've tried to copy Jim Lee's art style a lot. As an artist, it's one of my favorite things to do, is copy my favorite artists, right? His eyes, like, he'll never draw like the bottom part of a character's eyeball or whatever, or he'll never draw both lips completely filled in. I say never, of course. I'm sure somebody will immediately pull up an example where he does, but seemingly never, right? So very cool stuff. And I think that's John Byrne, Terry Austin, absolutely. But also you're kind of getting more to the Bronze and Copper Age there a little bit.
Well, I think that's the reference I said about someone, the different inkers, and the Terry Austin, I think, was the one where he had him holding the teddy bear.
Oh, right on. Comic Trip's talking about something you're probably gonna bring up a little bit later. We'll kind of dovetail back to that.
Yep.
Oh man, another one of my favorite covers. You did a good job pulling some of his artwork here, man. Big B.
I was trying to think of some like the highlights that I thought were really, really, really good ones. But yeah, I mean, that one is just an amazing issue in and of itself.
Yes, it's an amazing story, amazing art. I saw 3 people wearing this as a t-shirt on Saturday.
And there's a lot of like at some point, I would say, like during the it's not Mutant Massacre. What is it? The fall? Not the Fall of Mutants. What is it?
Inferno?
The issues that Jim Lee was doing, where it was gosh darn it. One of the covers has Havoc blasting up in the air. It's got, but he had this really no, not Inferno.
I'm trying to think of
what crossover that was. Not the maybe was it? Oh no, it wasn't Fall of the Mutants.
Oh, I think you're right.
Warlock died.
I think it's Fall of the Mutants. Yeah.
Is it Fall of the Mutants? Okay, Fall of the Mutants. But at that time, he was doing his detail in the background. I remember as a young artist, like trying to his detail work. Like I was like, oh, he draws like some leaves blowing in the wind and a few leaves on the tree, but then he just kind of does the shape of all the rest of the leaves and stuff. And it was just very. I thought at first, reading it and looking at it, I'm like, man, the detail. And then I'm like, oh, it's the stuff that you leave out,
Definitely. And it's not like anybody could accuse Jim Lee of not drawing detail, but it's almost like an illusion, because you look at it and you see so much more detail before you really start to look at it than is actually there.
Right.
And I'm sure it helps speed things up a little bit. I can't imagine, he can't be one of the fastest artists out there, because he just draws so much detail. But then again, like Nauman was saying, he did Twitch streams. He did draw pretty fast. It was pretty surprising.
Extinction Agenda. That's right. It was Extinction Agenda.
Okay. Man, I am like suddenly mixed up like 4 of the 80s, early 90s.
I was like, what crossover am I thinking of? Yeah, it was Extinction Agenda. You're right.
But yeah, classic. And I love Chris's comment about Black Widow's age in this storyline too.
Right. It's
They
like,
should have
wait, she was around and
went more with that, with like the Red Room and all that stuff in MCU. But hey, whatever. Oh yeah. So
that's a little more recent. That wasn't back in the day, but
no, it's a little more recent. But it's I mean, that's one of his big creations, one of his co-creations, right? Like Gambit's one of the characters that Jim Lee's responsible for helping bring to the X-Men. Omega Red, Gambit, a couple of bigger ones. So very cool, very cool. Hey, what's up, Dracula? Hello. Good evening. I was just watching your cousin's movie. I started Nosferatu earlier with the
how are you liking it?
Pretty cool. We only got like 40 minutes in before we had to go get my daughter from school. And we're like, we wanted to keep watching, but not appropriate.
Right. Yeah. I don't think you want to watch that kid.
But, sorry about the image getting a little squished on this one. Originally, Bigby pulled the Cyclops Wolverine cover here, which is the best one, obviously. And I was like, it'd be cool if I got the whole gatefold in there, but it got squished a little bit. So sorry about that. But we're in kind of this prime X-Men era of Jim Lee. Guinness World Record best-selling comic of all time.
Yeah, peak Marvel Jim Lee, right?
Yeah, but peak comics, almost literally. It's just incredible. I'm starting to see now we're at this phase of the homage where I see homages to this all the time.
Yeah, I saw they did the modernist the anniversary cover of that with all the gold background. It was so cool.
The stretch variant.
Yes, that's right. Right.
It's just gorgeous. It's great art. It launched probably, as much as it sold millions of copies, it probably launched hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of X-Men fans. Just such an amazing story.
We returned to Magneto being a bad guy. Was one of the linchpins to Chris Claremont leaving the X-Men.
Comic tropes, great point. Ignoring manga and YA stuff. Yep. Yes. American superhero comic. Yep. Very good point. Yeah, it would have covered. Yeah, 100%. I'm with you, Jay. No, you don't have to apologize. But yeah, this is kind of peak, Jim Lee for sure. Yeah, just I can't say enough good things about it. And then, so this is this is a recolor of his 11 line art, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't even see that. Was this? Did Scott Williams like re-ink and recolor this or something, or how did you know how he did that?
Jim Lee and Bob Wycheck.
Okay. But X-Men 11 has actually kind of grown in quite a bit of popularity because of this image.
Yeah, that's
on the cover.
A huge cover.
Yeah, big time. And there's a silver tone variant of it that's worth quite a bit as well. But
the Pressman board game variant, right?
Yeah, exactly. But so I went one step further because this is a landmark cover, especially looking back on his career. But I wanted to pull an interior from this. So here's an interior splash page from that issue from X-Men 11. And this is just, I'm biased. This is just my opinion. It doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Nothing will excite me more than a Jim Lee splash page. They are, I was looking at a bunch of them earlier. I could have pulled all of them and we could have been here all night. They're so awesome. But this is, obviously the final art page. And then here's something I pulled, which is the original line art for it. And kind of harder to see if
the line art better. I like the line art better.
This is one of those ones, and I'm sure somebody's done it at this point. It'd be fun to watch this get recolored, kind of with modern coloring, like digital coloring or whatever. But just the line art of this, I can't even imagine owning this splash page. That would be ridiculous. Yeah. It's it's just so fun. And talk about the detail. This is, these are the kind of things that I would just be laying, on my bed, reading my stack of comic books for that week or month or whatever, listening to some music and just kind of like just scanning every little bit of it, just like checking all the detail and looking at everything. And yeah, it's fantastic.
I mean, and a lot of so many other young up and coming artists that he inspired doing that style. So like, J. Scott Campbell, like early on, very much Jim Lee's style. All of those guys in the Wildstorm studios. I mean, a lot of the Image guys coming up.
Well, and we're gonna get to that too.
Yeah.
So in fact, I think that I'm trying to remember what the next slide.
We got trouble brewing here real soon. He's going to be leaving Marvel.
Spoilers. No, yeah. Just this is peak for me. Like, I know some people are obsessed with like his Batman, Superman, DC work in the same way, but as an X-Men fan, this is just it's literal eye candy for me. But here we get to this is a good spot to talk about this. Before I do, I'm going to talk about one thing happening over on the EXP, where Jay's backing us up as the producer over there. We do have another show coming on tomorrow night on the EXP, which is Welcome to Wonderland, which is a comic claim sale that happens every week over there with Rich. And you can go check out all the stuff he's offering from his shop that's coming up for New Comic Book Day, plus some classic comics. I showed off the first new Teen Titans and first Dick Grayson as Nightwing comic book that I picked up from them a while back. They did a really good job getting those comic books to me very fast shipping, very quick. If you want to go watch that show, it starts at 8 Eastern, 7 Central over on the EXP. Again, the link is in the description below. Definitely go give them a follow. And while you're at it, if you're not watching over on Big B McFly's channel, go give him a subscribe as well. We'd love to see you on all channels checking out all our content. So it is kind of interesting, you have, this is arguably, how do I even want to phrase this, one of the biggest moments in comic books again. And Jim didn't do it by himself by any stretch of the imagination. But it was a huge part of it.
Some arm twisting to get him to come with them.
Yeah. But him and a few other desperados go off and form Image Comics and really turn the entire creator world on its head. Like, it's just insane to think about. I was reading a quote from Barry Windsor Smith where he was talking about how what they did was one of the most revolutionary things that creators could do, and it would have an impact for years to come, and that is certainly true. Think about the legacy of Image Comics and what it's done. I was talking to somebody Saturday who was saying, "Oh, I love indies. I say indies, and I mean things like Image," and I'm like, "Well, I mean, it is technically it's an indie. Like you can make the argument at some point, where does an indie stop being an indie?" But it's not DC or Marvel. Right. And they've gotten that big, and we'll talk about things like Invincible and Walking Dead or Robert Kirkman books. Lots of great stuff that's come out of Image. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands, of titles that have come out of Image at this point. And just the amazingness that came out of all those folks going over there and starting it up. And I will say at the same time, and I'm always critical about this, some very pretty books, not a whole lot there content wise, and a lot of it, in my personal opinion, I'm sorry if a lot of you love the stories in some of these books. I think Spawn had a really great story. Because of my age, I really liked Gen 13, which shout out to Jim Lee. He, created Gen 13 with Brandon Choi. But man,
I enjoyed Wildcats, but I think he realized his limitations and right away brought in writers that could handle it for him.
And I think it's just true, like, reading Youngblood, Wildcats, Savage Dragon might be a little bit above that too, but I think it took a while to find its legs in some ways. But there's Max, maybe one of the big examples where I think it was a really great story, really fun story at least. But yeah, a lot of stuff over there. The stories weren't necessarily great, but man, the art was fantastic. And
so Tropes mentioned at this same time he's doing, or just about the same time of doing Wildcats, Jim Lee really kind of decided he really kind of fell in love with the artwork of Frank Miller and started doing a different book called Deathblow, which I forgot to pull copies of for this slideshow. I sent some to Bronze on the side, but if you guys get a chance to look at that, it's amazing. It's pretty astounding that he took the chance to try to do something different like that and draw like a completely different style, and trying to do those really heavy blacks where you know that dark Frank Miller style. So yeah.
Here, I'll see if I can
I think it really helped him grow as an artist, because he started doing a lot more of that, incorporating more of that like Mignola-esque shading and shadowing in his artwork, where he wasn't afraid to cover up. Whereas like this Wildcats cover, everybody is like fine line artwork everywhere, right? But
nope, I broke everything.
Almost had it there. I see it there down below.
Yeah, but I thought I was adding it to the screen. Okay. Yeah, I can't get it to pop up with our slideshow. Oh, maybe if I do that, because that's not.
There it is. Oh, there it was.
So I know we're covering it up a little bit. I'm doing the best I can there. There we go. Jay's helping us out.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, there's an example at least, so you guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so he's just like, yeah, just totally taking a chance on doing a completely different art style.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see some Lee in there, but it's totally different.
Yep. And gosh, maybe even some Liefeld too.
Yeah.
Now that I'm really looking at it.
He was
with like
trying to I think he was trying to kind of do that Sin City-esque type of artwork, but yeah. But still keep some of his style in there. So
it's crazy. Yeah, it's just very interesting. I mean, Image, I kind of I'm just being honest, like I don't think I'm really ragging on it too much here. But okay. So there we go. Thank you. I see. Oh, okay, I see how to do that now. Thank you very much, Jay. I'm ragging on it a little bit for the storytelling, but obviously it sold very well, and it's still around today, so it did its job. And the art was amazing. I profess I'm a huge Gen 13 fan, even though it's very much a product of the 90s of its time. So many of these things are, though.
Every team had their Wolverine character. Every team had their their Hulk character. Every team had their
Yep. Oh, excuse me. There's our first yawn of the show. A little grifter action going on.
Grifter. Yeah.
So heel turn or double heel turn. I don't know what you'd call it exactly. You have the Heroes Reborn, or which eventually would turn to the Heroes Return. But I almost think of it as the Return of the Creators. You had most of the big personalities from Image that started as founders of Image come back and do these kind of relaunches of big storylines. Will Spartasio doing Iron Man. You had Rob Liefeld doing Captain America. And you had Jim Lee come back and do Fantastic Four, which was insane.
I'm not sure the logistics of this, because someone told me, and Tropes, you could probably correct me on this, but somebody told me that at this point Marvel was in dire financial situation, and they actually gave the Image guys carte blanche to do whatever they wanted to do, and they paid, or basically they were almost running Marvel at that time.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
I have the same memory of that as you. None of my research I did before the show, which admittedly, like, it wasn't a super deep dive. None of that kind of contradicts that. Chris is saying this first time they went back to mainstream, I think it was. Yeah, they were in bankruptcy, trying anything. That's my memory of this.
Yeah, someone was trying to tell me that they, basically they were splitting the money with the Image guys, like, help us.
Yeah,
but
he's like second yawn. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, folks. I have to show. I am like obligated by the very nature of my being to show the next page from this book that I'm about to show. It's one of my this had a foundational experience on me as a teenage boy. This page from the interior of Fantastic Four #1. Shortly after they get their powers, they crash back down to Earth in the spaceship and everything. If you don't know how Fantastic Four works, they've been exposed to the cosmic radiation. Where Sue sees this, figured wrong. Don't worry, this will wake me up.
Oh, there you go. Tropes is explaining it too. Richard and Tropes both got it.
Oh, let's go. Everything was contracted out. They sold off all the rights to movie studios for not very much, and their toy company. Yes. Yeah. Toy Biz, right? Last appearance of Chris's virginity.
Greg Jim Landley.
Bring up the booty icon.
Yeah, you do need the booty icon.
I mean, if you guys think it's worth it, it's no hack slash in that regard, but there you go. Wearing the Rogue shirt, it's perfect. But yeah, this is
I mean, the booty's great. The thing is amazing in the background too.
Don't get me wrong, like none of this is sure, we're drawing attention to. Well, it draws attention to itself. It has its own gravitational field.
That's no moon.
but I mean, like, even going back, let's go back to the cover. I mean, like, look at the work he was putting out here. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you can pull open from my memory
interior work there.
Any of the pages of this book, and you're going to see some crazy good art. It just really was fantastic. I have a really good memory of all these titles for the most part. I remember, like, when Iron Man was fighting Hulk in his series. I think Sydney Sweeney was based on this version of Sue here. The thing takes up most of the page, and it also has Ben Grimm on it. So here's the thing.
Yeah, there is the thing.
Anyways, I have very fond memories of this. They kind of ham-fistedly waved it all away, and Franklin Richards it all back to reality after a few issues.
Pocket dimension.
Yes, exactly. Pocket something.
So of course everyone loved Rob Liefeld so much that Jim Lee had to come over and do covers on Captain America too.
Yep. And do them way better. Awesome sauce. It's Fantastic Four #1 from the Heroes Reborn era of Marvel, where all the Image creators came back and relaunched all the core Marvel books for a few issues.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Yep. I mean, if you needed any further proof, I don't know how else we can convince you. Jim Lee is goated. Great stuff here. And then the Avengers cover. I still really dig that Iron Man with, like, those crazy, like, exhaust ports or whatever. And then we have kind of the next chapter.
Image.
Next chapter, where I'm a little foggy on some of the details, but he basically sold Wildstorm to DC or lent their rights to him. I'm a little foggy on how that all worked.
I believe he sold Wildstorm, and with them took all of the characters, Wildcats and everything that, Authority, everything else that had
Fairchild. Yeah, I mean all of Gen 13, but Fairchild appears is in Superboy for the New 52 and stuff like that later on from Gen 13. But this kind of starts down the road where eventually you have Jim Lee and Dan DiDio as co-publishers, replacing Paul Levitz in 2010. And then in 2018, Jim Lee was appointed Chief Creative Officer, replacing Jeff Johns. And then in February 2020, DiDio left the company and Lee becomes the sole publisher. Which is just, I mean, we talked about Superman and how he grew up watching Superman series from the 40s.
Right.
And
I mean, look how far he came from Samurai Santa to running DC.
It's insane.
Right.
So
yeah,
and
John, he sold the rights, but that did not sit well with his fellow Image founders.
True. Yeah, there is some history there, for sure. This Trinity set of covers is just absolutely infamous. You can't really see it, but I actually have that Jim Lee Superman statue right there. That same pose and everything. But just iconic, that Batman, that Superman. I think the Batman came first as one of the variant covers for Hush, then Superman, and then later on he did the Wonder Woman. I think that was the order. Just iconic pieces. Now that have been homaged many times.
When my son was like 6-7 years old, I had that Batman and Superman poster set hanging up in his bedroom for him.
That's awesome. So we kind of get to this era of DC Jim Lee, which to me, it's if you're a fan of DC and Marvel, just as much as I think the X-Men stuff with Jim Lee was so iconic, his stuff for DC was just as iconic. I mean, one thing I should have pulled some artwork from All-Star Batman and Robin, because that's another title that with Frank Miller at the helm, Jim Lee was doing the art there. You could say what you want about Frank Miller's writing on that series and how it was delayed or whatever. It's just insane the work he was doing on that book. Like the love he was pouring into the art in that too is pretty freaking incredible. You have those pops. That's cool. Right on.
Nice.
I have the foils of those too. Richard says, no disrespect, but Lee is close to George Perez, where he does better with big groups and teams. Interesting. He definitely has. He has a way of I don't know if the right word is like blocking or positioning multiple characters on screen on the panel at once. That is very, very good. And I think that's what makes it shine.
I mean, that piece right there that we're showing right now, that shows a lot of that use of the heavy dark blacks from like when we saw in the Death Blow and stuff, which is, instead of just doing like that mass line super detail work, he's incorporating both.
Yeah. Yep. Just very, very cool. My favorite versions of all these characters are probably present in all of Jim Lee's art. Probably true for the X-Men, probably true for the Trinity characters as well from DC.
I love that. I'm fighting a bunch of Doomsdays. It's amazing.
Yeah. Just incredible stuff. It's just so good. There's a little more Frank Miller.
That's him doing that Miller style.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's Miller time. This is gorgeous. One of the art pieces I was alluding to earlier, These are the characters you'll see as kind of Jim Lee's Catwoman costume and Batman, and it just is so good. When I went to Rose City Comic Con and met Jim Lee, there was a poster, like you had to sign up for a special meet and greet to meet him and get his autographs. And included with that experience, you got a exclusive print of a poster that was Catwoman and Batman, and it was really awesome. It was in the rain and everything, kind of very similar to this. Only they're like jumping across the rooftops. Very cool.
Did you get that
I threw
signed?
this one in. Yeah, those were signed automatically, and then I had him sign my X-Men 5 and my Captain America, Wolverine, Black Widow, Uncanny X-Men 2. I'm gonna forget the number. But I had him sign both of those comics because I had some other Jim Lee. Like I have some Gen 13 stuff he signed already, but I bought it signed.
Gotcha.
This is one of my favorite covers he did. Kind of moving into the proper New 52 kind of stuff. I think this is a cover that's really going to kind of stand the test of time in some ways.
I got to meet Jim during the right at the launch of Image Time. He was in Portland. They were doing a promotional thing at a convention, and they had gunked up the works of the line so bad that people weren't being able to get through, and so the Image guys climbed over the table and just started walking down the line signing books for people.
That's cool.
It was Jim, Rob, and Todd, I believe, were all just walking down the line signing books.
Jim, Rob, Todd. Yep, I remember. Yeah. Figure Drawing says this is a hot take. Jim Lee may be the most impressive artist who went to the top without obvious natural talent. For example, Dan Mora is like a talented Jim Lee. So by natural talent, I mean, I kind of, we talked about how we saw Jim Lee kind of improve really fast early on. I see a little bit what you're talking about. He's always had a mechanical style in your view. He's good, of course, but yeah, his hard work and consistency paid off. I definitely agree with that. His hard work and consistency definitely paid off. Yeah, 100%. I see what you're saying.
Is that true, Derek? Derek says Jim's only drawn Zatanna once.
I highlighted that a second ago. I was wondering about that. I mean, that's crazy if that's true. It seems like just even like in a group shot or something, he would have drawn her more than once.
Right.
But
I love that cover, by the way, the Justice League.
Yes, it's so good.
Great
It's
cover.
so I got this like at a Midtown sale for like 50 cents, and I was like, oh yes, I love this cover.
Right.
And I had to throw this one in because I'm a Jim Lee fan, and even though Jim Lee was basically the writer of Gen 13 for the most part, he did do a few pieces. This is probably not my favorite Gen 13, to be honest. This is actually kind of an example of kind of like I don't like some of the facial features and stuff like that, but at the same time,
that's some weird. There's some weird things going on with Fairchild's thigh there.
Yep. There's some weird kind of anatomy stuff going on if you really look at it.
And her eyes are kind of weird. I don't know.
And I mean, really, if you look at several of the characters, actually, there's some like Roxy's got some weird stuff going on too. If you look at this up close, but oh yeah, the infamous Batgirl issue of All-Star Batman and Robin. Yep. Absolutely.
Hey, Comics Limited Trav, there he is.
Hey, what's up? How you doing, Travis? And then threw this one in here because by the way, still available. No one claimed it earlier. $20 if you want a newsstand VF copy of that book right there. Got it up for you, but that's another one I just had to throw in there because it's one of my favorite covers of his that he's done. By no means a complete look at Jim Lee, but one thing I did want to make sure we talk about is we kind of talked a little bit about his personal life, we talked a little bit about his career, we talked a little bit about his art, but impact on you, Big B McFly. How do you feel about Jim Lee and what has he meant to you? Okay, it's yours. By the way, I think I said this would be $25. I've got a near mint plus copy of X-Men 4 as well. Not a newsstand, it's a direct, but near mint plus. I would have submitted it to CGC if I was still doing such things. I'm not. But yeah, you got it. EXP has a form you can fill out after the show or right now if you want to. And there you go. So yeah, what's your impact?
Like looking at his career, and like he very much had an impact on my artwork, like, and just being like Figure Drawing was saying, you know, his hard work and diligence paying off. I mean, that really is impactful. But yeah, I mean, he is definitely one of the artists that I like to try to incorporate his style in my style. So, and anytime I see his artwork, as an artist, I try to internalize what I see, you know, and memorize the line work and the curvature of everything. And so, yeah, very inspiring to me.
Yeah, and that's my personal artwork. I have spent more time trying to draw like Jim Lee than any other artist. You know, if I could just snap my fingers and become as good of an artist as a professional comic book artist, there's a few people I would have to think about, but the answer, just for sheer versatility of the American comic book style, I'd probably pick Jim Lee. You know, it'd be fun to Dave Stevens and Frank Frazetta and Adam Hughes. There's a few others that would be on that list I'd have to kind of consider, but Jim Lee is kind of the pinnacle there for me. It's something about his style. Like I said, in my head, I always thought of it as a detailed style. Like Figure Drawing had a really good way of putting it, but it's almost maybe a little mechanical, but it's just clean is really what I think of when I think of Jim Lee artwork.
It is so clean. Yeah.
And
like I said, I really think that having taken that detour and trying to draw that style of Deathblow, where he really put in those heavy, dark shadows, really changed his artwork too. It added to not just doing that straight up line work, that it got much more into the shading.
Well, and it's so he's always been really had an interesting use of cross hatching in his artwork, and I feel like that's evolved into that darker shadow work because a lot of his cross hatching takes place where you would normally see shadow, and seeing it kind of turn darker is kind of this, because he still will use the hatch work, and you know, like in our background here, you can kind of see like that Superman. There's still hatch work available you can see on him, but there's also like that really dark shadow across his midsection, that kind of thing too. Sorry, I missed that comment.
Favorite Jim Lee cover, Gears of War. Gow.
Interesting. Yeah, Gears of War. I remember Gears of War was hot for a minute back when the comic book bubble was in full swing. What's up, Damien? How you doing? Pleasure running into you at the Frankenstein Comic Swap as well. Hope you.
I missed Damien too. Dang it, I missed everybody.
Yeah, he was there. He was there. That's what you get for coming late.
That's right. Travis says Travis Charest. I love Travis Charest's artwork too. It was another one that was great. People came out of Wildstorm.
Yeah. Also a really good one. So if you like this you know, kind of comic creator highlight thing we're doing, hopefully you're going to stick around for other ones we do. We have other people on that list. If you have recommendations for those, maybe you're watching on the rewind, go ahead and throw that comment down below in the video on the feed, and we'll keep that take that into consideration. And also you can do that, of course, in the live chat too. We always want those topic suggestions. But we've got a few series that we're going to be kind of going back to, like our favorite types of this comic, or our favorite covers from this series, our favorite creator highlights, kind of, you know, bring things in. Roy Thomas is an interesting one for sure. That could get interesting.
Michael Turner, that's a good one.
Michael Turner
is a good one.
Yep. Is Joe Madureira on your honorable mention list of drawing? You know, Joe Mad is definitely somebody who I've tried to draw his style a few times, because for me, you know, people know I've never really read manga. I've never really been well versed in kind of Eastern styles of art, and his art is obviously heavily inspired by that. And so it always came across as being like familiar to me, because I didn't quite understand where it was coming from when I was a kid. I do now, obviously, and kind of unique. I like some of his like crazy wide shoulders and some of the stuff he was doing, especially since I really like Battle Chasers. So that would be one that I definitely would consider on that list too, but probably wouldn't win.
There's two Joes in that I like to take pieces of their styles, Joe Mad and Joe Quesada. I mean,
Joe Quesada.
Yeah.
There you go. There was one of my pickups.
There we go.
From Bigby, since you mentioned that, Damien, classic Neil Adams. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's fantastic. That's a really good one. And that's the problem is there's so many people like, you know, of course, if I could snap my fingers, I could just become one artist. It's very difficult. There's so many that would be good. And then as far as artists that we need to cover, Neil Adams is 100% on that list. George Perez is 100% on that list. That was issue 6, I think, of Gen 13, if I'm not mistaken. Awesome Sauce. I'll try to get back to you on that one. But yeah. So yeah, we'd love to talk about some of those creators. Those are some great suggestions. We need to, before we run out of time, we need to show off our community artwork. Speaking of all this awesome community art we've been getting, we have been getting it.
People are chiming in with all these tons of Bernie Wrights and Jim Starlin. Yeah, there's a ton.
Yeah.
Jim
Starlin, I mean, I'm definitely not gonna put this out in the universe that it's possible that we could 100% get him on, but there is an outside chance that we could have Jim Starlin on at some point. Maybe that would be great. Probably not like during this time slot. It'd probably be like a pre-recorded thing or something like that. But
we keep flirting with his collaborator.
Yeah. So it's possible. And that would be a fun, kind of tie in to do. I know Comic Trip said, get Jim Lee on the show and ask him. He's on my dream list of people I'd love to interview.
Matt Wagner, that's a good one. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Matt Wagner is somebody we've both talked about a lot privately with some of his pivotal stuff. Okay. So I think I have to.
So let's show some community art, and then we should probably show off our stuff that's available. People can reach out to us after the show if they're interested in stuff too.
Yeah. Do you want to show your stuff again real fast? Well, I have this basically set up ready to go, but go ahead. I showed my stuff a second ago, so
I got a big stack of books, Jim Lee books. I got a X-Men 257 Psylocke cover in there. X-Men 258 newsstand. 277 newsstand. We got an X-Men #1, the Magneto cover. X-Men #2. X-Men #3. Superman #205. Just love that cover. Batman, what was it, 611? 614. So that whole stack of books, $45 shipped. If somebody wants it, there's 9 books there, $45 shipped. And then
very good deal. Nice stack of books.
1 in 50. Jim Lee, Spawn and Batman sketch cover. So cool. It was say over 50 copies. You get one of these. It's a square bound book, real nice high grade copy of that book. Possible 9.8 candidate. $65 shipped on that one if somebody wants it.
There you go.
And you can hit us up on here, or you can hit me up on Instagram after the fact.
Awesome sauce. Your comment cracked me up. Yeah, I definitely would be able to talk to believe it or not. I'm not as starstruck when it comes to talking to people like that. I'm more starstruck when it comes to talking to people like Mark Bagley or Jim Starlin or Frank Joe. Although Frank and I instantly, I feel like we hit it off. But
gosh, they couldn't get. They had to pry Frank away from us.
Yeah. So let me. Oh man, if I was smart, I would have been doing this in the background. I was too busy watching your cool books. You hypnotized me. So speaking of cool things that Bigby's done, and characters that Jim Lee draws really well. Why tell us about that?
It's a part of a larger piece. So this is the gal being lowered into the vat of boiling acid or whatever. But yeah, just having fun with that. Actually, my favorite part is her feet. I was just trying to play with
Okay, Quentin Tarantino.
Actual... What's that?
Okay, Quentin Tarantino.
No, I really just I'm trying to get the emotion of like, what would you be doing with your feet if you were being lowered into and trying to get that, just that positioning.
The last inch of like trying to not get into the acid.
Right. Yeah, so you got her one shoe falling off into the acid, and
no, I like that.
So just having fun with it.
Right on, man. Very cool art there from Big B McFly. This came in from CJ Design over on Instagram. Nice. Check out CJ Design 66 over there. I feel terrible because I'm not. Is that just a random person in the background, or is that somebody I should know? I don't know.
Not certain.
Yeah, but very cool. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that with CJ.
Maybe it's Namor. Is it Namor after the red suit? The red suit cover. You got the.
Maybe. I think it's just kind of a. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, we're going Namor. We're going Namor.
Look at the first appearance of the red suit, and I'm like, man, he's no way he's putting the. He's fighting Namor underwater. Daredevil's in trouble.
This is an awesome piece from Dom Gomez. I love the colors on this.
Yeah,
like a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things I like about this, but the colors are really cool. We got Doc Ock up there.
Dom Gomez, really good, really good. Check him out on Instagram.
Very cool. Nice work. Eddie Rodriguez coming back. I think if I do this, will that help? Yeah, that'll make that a little bit bigger. You said this is part of a 3-piece set, right? Like it's three chunks.
You can see that there's 3 lines. There's lines there. It's 3 cards. Sketch cards.
Very cool. So. Oh man, I should have pulled his artwork. I met somebody at the show. Here, I'll make this normal sized again, so I can go to the next one. I'll let you talk about that one. I'm gonna go see if I can find this guy's artwork. I'll be right back.
Okay. So Erwin Papa, that's piece from the Marvel Rivals Sue Storm Malice. So that was his take on that. He was nice enough to message me on Instagram and show that off. So beautiful piece. Really like it a lot.
Very cool.
Yeah, he was in the chat earlier. That's right.
Oh, nice. Right on.
Yeah. And James Foster, Nerdy Musings. This is another piece from his panel a day project that he was working on, doing one panel of a comic every day. So
very cool. I think it's the second time in a row I've got kind of like almost like an Invincible vibe from it. A little bit of Ryan Otley in there. That's cool.
A little Ryan Otley, a little Jack Kirby.
Yeah. A little Kirby Crackle.
Yeah.
This was Rich Danke was in the chat earlier at the beginning of the show. This is the piece. He sent in 2 pieces. I won't tell you what the other one is. We'll show that off next week or possibly the week after, depending on how we do next week's show with the claim sale. But this is, his kind of Jim Lee Catwoman costume, Jim Lee, esque Batman kind of thing that he did.
Very timely.
Yeah, it was very hard to choose between the 2 pieces because they're both very Jim Lee, Jim Lee-esque. But did a very good job there, Rich. Appreciate that.
Yeah, like it. Very nice.
Yeah. Feel like that purse strap's doing a lot of work there. That little satchel strap doing a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work.
Side Quest Comics coming in with I think these are original character designs, right?
Yeah, there's some cool looking like knights, magical knight characters.
I love the use of color just on their gems and abilities there. That's really cool.
Yeah, so looks like you got an ice person, a fire person. Assuming the green guy's gonna have some sort of nature power.
Yeah.
Air. Yep. Oh yeah, air there. Yep.
Very cool. I like it. And that was our last slide. Right on. Very, very awesome. I mean,
Side Quest. Yep.
I cannot stress how cool it is to get like Big B updating me on amazing artwork, people hitting me up with amazing artwork, and seeing we had some of the same people send stuff like pretty much every week. We've had some new people kind of swap in there. If you want to be one of those new people that we show, all you got to do is hit up Big B or myself through any of our social media, anywhere you can get a hold of us, and just let us know, hey, I got a piece for Best Coast Comics, and we'd be more than happy to feature that for you. We love doing it. It's a big part of it's literally one of the things we founded the show on, is that we wanted to do that. So, and you might win some cool prizes too.
That's right.
Speaking of, so this is something I ran into somebody. They didn't technically offer to share this up, but I ran into him. He was trying to show this off to Dan of Dan's X-Men Comics at the booth. This is Loft Killa is the profile there. LOFTKILLA, Jesse. He does these cover recreations on matchbooks. Or sorry, not matchbook, magic card style cards. And they're really cool. And this is something from his original comic he's working on. But here's another one of those recreations he did. I think they were just really cool. He brought them to show Dan, and I just wanted to kind of show him off because I think he did a good job. Cool. But that's Loft Killa. Definitely go give him a follow and check him out as well.
The size of a magic card is quite small.
Very small. Very small. I was thinking of somebody else that does matchbook stuff for a second there. Sorry for the misstep, but it's still very cool. Yeah.
Very cool.
So the news segment of the show, the only thing I really wanted to talk about is that there's two things going on pretty soon on the EXP. One of them is a very cool special guest kind of a thing, and that is that Order Up, the FOC show at 1 Eastern, will have Jeff Johns as a special guest. I believe that's tomorrow, right? Or is that a different day, Jay? You'll have to let me know.
Friday at 1 Eastern, 12 Central.
Perfect. Thank you very much there. Jeff Johns, always really cool to hear what he has to say. Guy definitely has done some cool comic books, to say the least. So go in there, be in the chat, maybe get a chance to get your question asked to Mr. Johns. I'm going to bring up an article here. Give me 1 minute to make sure I get the right one. Most of the stuff is stuff we can kind of talk about next week fairly safely. I think a lot of it was like movie news stuff too, which has a tendency to change pretty quickly. I guess I'll just say I'm pretty excited they're doing a reboot of Starship Troopers, which is kind of neat. Neil Blomkamp, who has a really cool track record, is the one behind that. But I said there's something else coming up on the EXP, and I messaged Nick Barucci of Dynamic Forces to try to get the details about this, because Kyle wanted me to do that to get all the details from him. But they're going to be doing an event coming up for Peter David, and if you're wondering why we need to do that, this was hitting the headlines, and it's pretty tragic. Peter David has run out of insurance. And I mentioned this earlier. We were talking about Peter David and the Hulk and all that. He lost Medicaid and is dealing with a medical issue right now. Has been for a while and needs some help. So there is a GoFundMe, and I know that the EXP is going to be doing something along the lines of getting something going with this too. So I'd say, when I mentioned get subscribed to the EXP, hit the bell. You'll get notified when the show's going live for something like this and when the details come out. But here, we got the links dropping in, thanks to Jay in the chat right now, for Peter's GoFundMe. This goes along with one of my constant things here is that we love these creators. We love the work they do. We support them, as much as we can in a lot of ways. And then they don't have, the kind of insurance plans like a lot of Americans, to be fair, don't have to cover these medical expenses. And they don't often have 401ks and retirement plans and stuff in the traditional sense. And yet people will jump down their throat if they charge too much for commissions or signatures or convention appearances or whatever. But this is pretty tragic stuff. He needs our help. So definitely something to consider going and supporting. And if you want to subscribe to the EXP and get notified when that show's details comes out, they're going to do a little bit of a support fundraiser kind of a thing for him there. Again, I wish I had all the details, but I was trying to get it kind of last minute here. I know everybody was busy over at their leadership, and I'm sure those details will come out soon. But just wanted to make sure we mentioned that and try to support Peter David.
Yeah,
if you can.
So we're actually going to be starting that on the art show this Friday.
Nice.
On Nick's original art show. That's going to be at 7 Eastern, 6 Central.
Okay.
So be sure you tune in Friday, because, you know, not only are we going to have Jeff Johns on the FOC show, we're going to have this great, you know, benefit for Peter David. So
the short end of the story, Awesome Sauce, is that he's lost insurance, he's lost Medicaid, and he's kind of had ongoing medical issues. I'll paste the Bleeding Cool article into chat so you can go check out and read up on that. He basically has like medical debt that he's basically kind of under the thumb of, is kind of my understanding of it. So I don't know if he's still currently dealing with medical issues. It wouldn't surprise me. But I know he's basically kind of in major need of help. Legendary creator, you know, and thanks for all the details there, Jay, where that's kicking off. Yeah, I reached out to Kyle early because I figured he'd have the plug for me, and he was like, reach out to Nick. So you know, definitely want to make sure we support that where we can. And that's one of the things I love about the EXP. You know, there's been lots of times where they've kind of banded together and tried to help out with some of these causes that are very important, and I definitely appreciate that. Because we try to do the same thing when we can, right? So So that kind of wraps us up for tonight for everything we had on the agenda, except for the news, which again we'll definitely cover the important stuff when we can. None of it was like time sensitive, I don't think. You know what? There is one other thing I want to talk about real fast, I guess. And I'll copy the link into chat. There's a really good Reddit article that Dave from West Coast Avengers shared this on Facebook, and I kind of think some of it's kind of like, well, we knew this already, but some of it's pretty interesting. It relates to the documentary Kickstarter that's coming out about Stan Lee and the filmmaker behind it, Jonathan Bullerjack. And I'll briefly show you what that page looks like. It has a really good job of going through and posting a lot of information about Jonathan throughout his kind of public profile and life. He basically is doing a documentary showcasing some of the potential elder abuse that was happening with Stan Lee later in his life, but people are pretty quick, and I think pretty fairly, to point out that there might be some elements of exploitation going on, or possibly that he allegedly may have been involved in some of the elder abuse that was happening as well. It's fascinating stuff. I encourage you to go read it for yourself and kind of make your own opinions on what you think is going on here. I really wanted to get some more information from you guys, from somebody. So through a really roundabout connection, I know somebody who was friends with one of Stan's previous personal assistants before the gentleman who was doing the elder abuse issues. And unfortunately, that person, who last I heard was doing some minor production work for Disney and Marvel, has basically scrubbed their online presence. So neither me nor my friend that knew him can really get a hold of him to kind of maybe try to get some extra, clarification about how this person's bona fides and whether or not they should be doing something like this. But it seems a little sketch. Like I said, I pasted the link in the chat. Go check it out. Last show you should bookmark for tomorrow on the EXP is Kicking It with Henri Compin at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Go check that out as well. Lots of reminders, lots of things. Hopefully you guys got all that. Yeah, a lot of people are not fans of what's going on, and it seems, at the very least, it seems like poor taste and poor timing, because if he had the position to do anything about this years ago, he should have, when Stan was still alive. That's my kind of knee-jerk reaction to this, but I do need to do some more research into it too, to kind of see exactly where everybody lines up. But I guess at the very least, if you didn't know that there was the Stanley documentary coming out about his last couple years, I think, or so, you might want to think twice about supporting the Kickstarter, or at least do your research before you go and do so. That would be my advice. But read up on it, and I think that Reddit article is a good place to start because it gives you lots of links and lots of places to check out to see what's going on out there. Fabrice Sapolsky is going to be on Henri's show too. That's a great note from Jay. So if you want to go check that out, there you go. Bigby, you got anything coming out this week, or any plugs for you or your channel or anything we need to know about?
I'm going to be coming out with the video for Frankenstein this week. So
sweet. Very fun. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. There might be an appearance by a certain bearded YouTuber on there, or like 10 of them. We're all bearded YouTubers. Even the women. It's weird. It's just, you're required to. That's a good point. Very good point, Derek. I have a video that should be coming out tomorrow that I'm going to record after this that I got to take care of, that I owe everybody for my top 5 not to buy. If that's not coming out tomorrow, it'll come out soon, and hopefully I'll get back to schedule. The comic swap thing totally tanked my ability to get that out on time. And then it's back there. I can't really grab it right now. I got a couple of the Vampirella 1/12 scale icon figures from Sarah Frazetta and the Frazetta girls. She was nice enough to send over a couple. One of them I'm going to do a review on and take a look at. The other one, it's going to stay unopened, and I'm going to put it up for $1 start on our Heroes for Heroes auction, which should be coming in May. She sent some artwork too, some prints and stuff too that are going to go up on that I'll be showing off on social media. Follow at Heroes 4, so Heroes 4 Heroes Comics over on Instagram if you want to see more details about that. But I'll have a video where I'll be explaining all that and taking a look at that figure, which is fantastic. I will say that. Never thought a figure could have a dump truck, but that one does. Really, a lot of cool posing, a lot of cool accessories. And I'll be looking at and comparing it to a couple of the other Frazetta icon figures that have come out. Dark Wolf and Tigra. Tigra and her Panther is the other one I have. So you'll be able to check those out. Exactly. I wish those showed up in StreamYard. But if you're seeing that live on YouTube, you're seeing the right emoji there. So yeah, that's what I have coming out. Some content. Don't forget, next week, same time slot, 8 p.m. Pacific. We're going to have a claim sale going on here. Might be a little bit shorter show or something. We'll see how it goes, but we're going to have a lot of stuff. If you have, books you need, titles you want us to make sure we show or something like that, those suggestions are always welcome. You can leave a comment about that as well, or hit us up on social media. And until next week, I guess we'll just tell everybody to go check out some Jim Lee comics, huh?
Yeah,
read some Jim Lee comics.
Comic.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll catch you in the next one. Have a good night, everybody.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.